We're live, and I've got an interview coming up with Sheena Alexandra, and she's the founder of Freedom Collective Foundation. And so, yeah, this will be interesting. I think we got a lot of things we'll be chatting about. Narcissistic abuse. That's a huge problem going on right now, especially since these lockdowns. The government are narcissistic abusers. They've got their hierarchy. They put themselves in their above the prime ministers or presidents. It's obviously the bankers. And so, do they have big noses and tiny hats? I don't know. It's kind of a it's kind of freaky to think about, like, church and state. Is there a separation, or is it the same people that conquered our ancestors with religion also now control the state? Hey, Sheena.
Hi there. Steve, I can only see your mouth.
Oh, yeah, I actually noticed that, so that's better, eh?
Yeah, I have to use a tripod right now, so please excuse me. How you doing?
Great. I was just talking about the bankers, and I was like, do they have bigger noses than even me? But like, seriously, like, they banned me off of YouTube last time for just making some jokes. Luckily, I'm a comedian, though, and when you're a comedian, you can make jokes about races and religions. Just like Russell Peters, he's my favorite.
Okay.
But you're so now I'm a professional interview host, though. Welcome to the show, Sheena.
Thanks, Steven. How are you doing?
Great. So I just want to, guess before we get into your foundation, I want to ask how did you get into sharing the truth, or what was that first aha moment that you were like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah. Well, I was on a radio show. I launched my own radio show called Wellness Radio. One of the girls was really awake, and she was kind of helping me awaken at the very beginning. And she mentioned 5G, and I didn't pay any attention to 5G. What is that?
Oh, it's French press. It's coffee.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know anything about 5G, and I had been in the technology industry for over 20 years, and I didn't know what she was talking about. And I remember the day we were out to lunch, and she mentioned it again, and I went home to research, and I was in bed for 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. I just saw things it was Max Egan who woke in me. And he's got quite a somber view of what's going on. And I just was in bed for 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. And then I manifested 5G on my street, and I got to see the insides of the local county and the local rules. That's when I did my deep dive into the WHO, and I realized they were just a bunch of hot air. I started speaking out about the WHO, the UN, and this was before the hoax hit. This was in 2019, and I did an interview with Patrick Wood and was exposing technocracy well before the hoax hit. And I then became a past life regression therapist because I wanted to help through the death that was coming. I knew that they were planning on killing a lot of people, so I thought being a past life regression therapist would, help. And the day that I opened the doors was the day COVID hit, so I had to think strategically, and I decided to continue with my work as an investigative journalist, and now we're here. And so I set up the foundation in 2020. I stepped into our solutions in 2019, but my foundation was set up in 2020. And Freedom Collective Foundation focuses on 7 pods, pillars of dedication and service. And each one of these areas are areas in our lives that we all have to focus and evolve to higher frequencies. And anywhere from health and wellness to natural law or lore, spirituality and homeschooling, and all of the areas up until your secret sauce. And that I think is the ultimate thing that's being hijacked here is your secret sauce, your purpose for being here. Many people are doctors and nurses and teachers, and they have no idea that they are working for the New World Order. So to break out of that and to just do what you have been put on this planet to do, and everybody evolving together. Now, I hadn't conquered all 7 of those areas. There was one area I needed to focus on, which was my food, water, and shelter. So I got on the road and I went out to seek a family farm in the future. And a year and a half later, almost a year and a half later, a year and a few months, I'm still on the road, and I haven't found a group of people that has met my image of what I'm looking for. I don't know if there's anybody in your audience that can connect me to anybody here in England, but everybody's still working as usual. Everything seems to be going as usual. Not a lot of people are embodying what we need to do. So that's my mission now, is to find the others.
Yeah. Nice. So then when it comes back to technocracy, can you describe that? What is technocracy?
Oh, we see it now. It's the use of technology and control and information. Yeah, we are so connected. On one hand, it's a good thing, and then on the other hand, when you have a whole generation of people that don't know what it's like to not have a phone or mobile, and all of their passwords, all of their connection to the bank, connection to their money, connection to their friends, everything's done on the phone. And we have really we have swayed away from our normal way of being, which is in nature and doing your secret sauce and eating healthy. And we've been really conditioned to have this as a normal addition to our lives. And, we're the same age, Steve. We grew up and we didn't have technology like this till we were, 25, 30. So technocracy really is the use of technology to control your life and your livelihood and access to your basic needs.
Yeah. And so it was actually at the start of lockdowns, I came across that term and I'd use it and everybody'd be like, what the hell does that mean? And so, like you said, they're actually like, I don't see technology as the enemy, but if there's technocrats who are aristocrats that now have all of our information and they want to create a digital identity and they want to actually monitor everything we do, not to benefit the people based on we have our needs. If everybody has all of our resources and needs covered, that would be awesome. But they want to use it for marketing, to sell us shit, and then to as well to profile us. Like, I've started to think about all of these false flags going back before 9/11. If they make it intentionally sloppy, then people will see, like, what the hell? You can't knock down 3 buildings or 4 buildings with 2 planes. Like, planes don't take down steel buildings like this. And so now they can use their technology to profile anybody that's popping up. And it's like the old whack-a-mole game at the circus where one person's like, hey, 9/11's a false flag. And it's like, bam, and knock them into a mental hospital. Did you find that when you started, I guess your special sauce, is that like what your passion is, like sharing, or what was?
Yeah, my secret sauce would be interviewing people and speaking out, educating people on how to evolve, really, how to evolve out of this situation. Because we all have to realize that we are participating in this reality. We've all created this situation, either through reading the Bible or believing government or believing our parents and our ancestors. We have been at this now for several centuries, and we need to remember that it wasn't always like this, and it's our free will that's under attack at the moment, and mind control is running rapid. They've cornered every bit of consciousness. So getting our consciousness back, getting our perception and our attention and our time and our health, and our free will, really, we need to understand that we are being like puppets controlled through tactics. MK Ultra, I mean, billions of pounds have been spent on studying the human species, on how to con us. And we need to know. I sit in silence all the time so I can increase my powers. Many people are still distracted and they don't want to become powerful. And I've been now learning how to project myself and have telepathy and manifestation. And that's the level that I'm at right now. And I've been working on this for 5 years now. And I was pretty astute student in Australia. So people have too many distractions right now.
I was going to ask you about that as well. Is the past life progression? So yeah, I'm going to be getting a hypnotist on to interview at 4 p.m. And so past life progression is almost a form of hypnosis to put somebody in. Is it the alpha or delta, like the sleep mind state? And now, I guess, how are you able to do that? And yeah, explain it. Have you gotten some benefits helping?
Yeah. It's called past life regression. And I'm level 2 practitioner. So I've spent several hours learning how to put people under and then walking through their past lives. What you do is you go through a past life and you go through different sectors of that past life. And then you bring them out of that past life, but you then talk to their higher soul, their higher self, about why you chose that life and what were the lessons. And I mean, it's a fascinating process. And I've done my own past life regression. I've done a future regression on the technology and children. But I also had a message come to me in the third regression that I did. A message came to me confirming that I was on the right path, that they needed me, that I was going to be working with galactic beings. And I mean, it was a pretty full-on message, and I was not expecting it. So I created a little video of that. That's something that I like to listen to, and I need to be reminded, what my mission is.
So I enjoy that you still have a mission to expose the darkness, and even though I'm a little concerned, or I'm personally wary about hypnosis. Any tools can be beneficial with the right person using them, or very dangerous. And hypnosis, I guess, to me, could be one of the most dangerous tools ever developed with religion. Right? Religion. Oh, wait for Jesus to save you. Eat the body, drink the blood of the zombie Jew. Go home, Jews. Like, fucking go home already, right? So bad, but nobody wants to send the Jews, if they're going to cut and suck blood and genitals and stuff, they need to go back to their homeland. But now this hypnotism, or like even past, what is your opinion? Have you noticed that some of the people possibly that are doing the like shamans with drugs, ayahuasca in the jungle, and now people always want to kind of just follow the leader, and so it's like lemmings that could be led off of a cliff? Or like, I don't suspect you're doing that with past life regression, but I guess opening up somebody to the Delta mind state, it's like very similar to like what the Illuminati and their Freemasons, and it's like, play pin the here's your apron and play pin the tail on the donkey, and it's like, what's the Freemason secret? And do you think that with witches and warlocks or Wiccans, like, are wicking up candles, and how much trouble could they be getting themselves into with hypnosis?
That's exactly what I'm feeling like. This is silent war, and they're using symbols and magic, and they know the hermetic principles, They know the power of everything that I've been talking about over the last few days has been uncovering the reality of this world. And I discovered that we are in different realms. We have different realms. We have different dimensions. I've been to a dimension where I'm speaking to somebody else's soul, and I'm asking him for proof. And the next day, I'm getting proof, like I'm getting an email, or the other day I was asking for more proof, and I just bought. I'm not smoking anymore, but I bought a pack of cigarettes, and all of my cigarettes were gone. I'm like, where did my cigarettes go? They weren't lost. The pack had emptied cigarettes, and it was a pack I just bought. So this realm is not what we think it is. And once we understand how to work with this realm and how powerful we are, we're going to get out of this mess very, very quickly. But the problem is that we have the Bible, and the Bible states that we are Gentiles and Goyim, and that's creating a class differential. And some of the work that I'm doing now is uncovering the mysteries of the Bible from Paul the Apostle, that we are all one, that we and the Jew are the one. We're not different. And also, we are supposed to be praying to Mother Gaia. We're supposed to be praying to the Mother, not the Father. And that's really important, because every time somebody prays to the Father, they're casting a spell, and they're making the reality uneven. And this is a very male-dominant reality. So I'm very conscious with my words. I'm very conscious with my perception and my speech, my vocabulary. And I'm just now, I'm a beginner at the Hermetic principles, but it's something that's in my life every day. And mind control, spotting out the lies is something that I do very well. We have to. If you don't control your mind or your free will, somebody else will.
Exactly. And being in tension with the words. I was just listening to your interview you did with Jesse Howell yesterday. I really enjoyed at the end. He says, "May the source be with you," kind of like the Star Trek, or what is it? What is the Jedi lightsaber movie? Yeah. Anyways, the source be with you. And I really do. To relate with Christians, or I guess even my electrical understanding of frequency coming from the sky, there's electrostatic energy, and a frequency is similar to like a sperm, which like the masculine sperm, and even the rain that comes down to fertilize Mother Earth. So the sky daddy, if the Christians want to feel better about it, and then the Mother Earth, Mother Nature. And so I could go into like there's a voltage, current, and power triangle, and then there's inductance, capacitance, and resistance. And so like with the Jew star, like I could start doing some power triangles and showing people that there's actually a lot of esoteric, like the religion by the book is what they call like occulted, or sorry, that's like that's exoteric for the masses to just be like, oh yeah, and then Jesus said this, and then Paul was struck blind on the road, and then it's like robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and then the Christians are like, how much money you want, Jews? Should we send some more to Israel and Ukraine? Like fucking clown show. And meanwhile, the Freemasons have these power triangles, and they have the hidden technologies, and let's say Vimanas, like the ancient Brahmins. And like now getting to the Brahmins, we've got a Brahmin, and then Abraham, and then like Saraswati and fucking Vishnu. And it's like the Sarah in the Bible, Abraham, Sarah, Vishnu, Sarah, like unbelievable that all of these, I guess, pagan religions have been occulted, so that now Muslims believe this crap and are putting fucking like a permanent umbrella over their women, and and now it's like a burqa, like ban the burqa, or like Canadian government has anti-Islamophobia. You want to force cover your women with veils, and now they're cutting not only boys but girls' genitals. Go home, Jews. Go home, and we don't need the fiat currency. I've heard you speak a lot about that. You can comment on whatever you like now, but the fiat currency you actually did. I really, that's what I sent you a friend request in the interview. I saw your first video you had pinned there, and you're very well spoken, exposing their tools of enslavement. And yeah, you're a very good presenter. And even with the music that you chose, it's just like, yeah, yeah, that was powerful.
Yeah. Oh, I love creating content. That's one of my secret sauces, creating content. Going back to the Bible, I mean, I don't know why I am, it's just such a, I guess it's because I understand mind control so well. I just read it, and I can see how much mind control. First of all, the concept of jail is in the Bible. The concept of nations is in the Bible. The concept of money is in the Bible. All three of these things are man-made by our enemy. The court system is it's all done by the Jews, and if you understand that, first of all, if you read the Bible, the book of life, I mean, it's no different than a fairy story, a fairy tale story of who's going to get written in and who's going to go to hell. It's not real. How can somebody believe that? Number one. And then you go on to the story of Jesus, and I mean, Jesus was a Jew. So if Jesus was a Jew, then why are the Christians not being like Jesus? There's just so many contradictions, and I don't know why people can't see it. I believe in natural law and do no harm. Do no harm. Do not commit a crime. Do not tell a lie. Do not steal. Honor your word and be a good neighbor. Well, that's all we need.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to the 7 deadly sins and the 10 commandments, natural law covers that pretty quickly with do no harm or do not trespass. And I think that the morality, the biblical people or whatever religious cult wants to say that they kind of, without their book or their 10 commandments, we'd all be lost. But I think everybody knows deep down when you do good, you feel good in your community, your family, and your spouse, your partner, and that commitment with a committed relationship. Everybody that's ever had a long-term committed relationship knows that even though maybe it might not have worked out overall, the committed relationships I've had were the best times of my life. Whatever, it didn't work all the way, but I think that now when we ever when we have been sinners or done wrong, sinners, sine wave, sinners, whatever, it's time here. We're all, whatever you do with your time. But if you don't do good and you make a mistake, you can either what the biblical would call repent, which is to recognize, either admit and confess to whoever you wronged, but then to make it up to them and change your behavior to make amends, to better it. And if you don't admit it, or you can't even recognize it, that is like psychopathy, narcissism. If you don't make amends and try to make what you did wrong better, I guess that's like apathy and just totally they're just about as useless as a fucking narcissist, or like dangerous, because if you're too apathetic to even, but then I guess when it comes to, if you don't actually fully repent and change, and then I think there is something very powerful about teaching others. If you haven't seen that lesson, other people getting it, confess what you did wrong and then make those changes and share your message so other people don't make that mistake. And I think that can when I started doing live streams 3-4 years ago, I started, I guess, doing online confessions, and I guess it got rid of a whole bunch of, maybe I never really had much depression, but like this anxiety about what's happening in the future. Just sharing and being like, yeah, I fucked up with this. I stole weed from Hell's Angels when I was a kid. They fucking knocked my teeth out. Don't steal, they'll get you.
Yeah. I call that clearing consciousness. I always clear the consciousness. I mean, I'm a pretty good person. I have accused people of lying and stealing, and whenever I do something wrong, I like to clear my consciousness and say that I've done wrong. I don't have any problems. But most of the time, I'm not wrong. That's the truth of the matter. Is I like to stand in truth. I like to stand in truth. That's so important. Identifying what truth is, and really honoring natural law, being a good person, and learning how this reality works, honoring this reality for what it is. That's what we all need to be doing right now. At least, I mean, it's one thing knowing that there's something going on, but then you're right, apathy, not doing anything about it, not caring, that's why we're not moving forward as a collective. But starting to see that we have our own powers inside our own realities, and I think we have to all do our own bit to climb up our own reality. And the higher you get, the more fun it is, the more confident you become. So I'm almost fully out of the matrix. I don't drive. I'm a traveler. I'm using little money, but I am in a situation where I'd love to find a group of people to, I have people here, but I'm not living with a group of people. And I think that's where we miss out. We miss out on the daily interactions and cooking dinner for people, and, having someone around to talk to is important.
I really do. I think that family, community, tribal, or like it's been broken apart, and like I'm not like culty about like, oh, I just want to hang out with people that think just like me, because that's the way a lot of these religious people are. And then even with nationalism, whoever created the church and state have been so clever with dividing us. Now even within our own religions and with our own countries, they'll divide people whether you're taking experimental jabberoos or not, or even if you divide and conquer is their agenda, and then order out of chaos. And I guess that's where I guess going right back to what we were talking about technocracy, I actually do, as much as I can't stand the slavery that's gone on for so long and that wealth inequality, and now they've taken all of this technology and used it in what is a nefarious direction. However, with everything that they have been doing, it now has created such a database of information that most of it's all bullshit. Like say a ton, they've muddied the waters with too much information, but wise people like me and you, and there's many others that have been accumulating and trying to sort it all out. We now have a huge database of information to realize who are the criminals that need to be dealt with swiftly, because if we don't deal with them quick, we're all in trouble. But then when it comes to like the haves and the have-nots, and then as well like the reduce, reuse, recycle, resourcefulness, we can actually put artificial intelligence to work. They do it with the scrap junkyards for cars and stuff, and they now have their database and be like, oh, you got a blown head gas or a Subaru or what year and make and model. We can now be doing that with a whole lot of the different inventory of what would be junked and melted down and repurposed. But why frickin' go through all that process when we can actually rebuild from the broken pieces? And then as well, I think that that's where people get so possessed by money and how many numbers in their bank account. What we really need is valuable, like good. If you got a freaking plastic chair that breaks and you have to go back to, in Canada, we buy from Walmart, or Canadian Tire, which is China, crappy tire. Everything's made in China. Well, why do we keep buying that and shipping? And then we, all of our recycling gets melted down and or sent to China again. And then we get more crappy shit from China. Let's build it ourselves in the locations and build high quality stuff, grow high quality food. And I think that the scarcity is very much one of the secret society's tools to enslave us and to keep us going back to work.
Yeah. Well, the Lehman Corporation, I don't know if that impacted Canada and America. The Lima Declaration offset all of our industry in Australia to China. And so the Chinese were getting incentivized to build up their factories and to manufacture goods and services and then sell them back to us. So something that we would be able to produce ourselves was now getting outsourced and then shipped back. And I mean, this is a planned attack on humanity on every sector of our lives. Our bodies, minds, spirits, and souls have been hijacked. And we're working to live. We're working to put clothes on our back. And we're buying things that don't matter. You know, we're paying the lawyer $750 an hour to enslave us. We're paying the cleaner $30 to make us healthier and to, you know, we have it so backwards here. We all just need to stop going to the movies, stop going to the concerts, stop searching out there and start really understanding how powerful we are. And that's going to take time. It's going to take an unlayering of all of the lies, all the mind control. I like to see this as we're upgrading our computer, our brains, from a 1972 DOS, black and white, slow, not a lot of functionality. You remember those 72 DOS version computers? Well, I'm now operating at a Mac, you know, 2024 Mac, all singing, all dancing, flying around, you know, lots of video and color. That's what we're doing when we're upgrading our mind and we're evolving and we're increasing our frequency. And this takes dedication, and it takes time, it takes commitment, and a desire to want to be better. And they've screwed our third eye up. We're too tired from the working. We're not really motivated. Also, love is another thing. We need to be in love with people, in love with our soulmates and the people that we meet. You know, and people need to learn how to learn how to trust their hearts more and follow their hearts more, and yeah, be in love more.
And that's where I like food, water, shelter. But it really is the love and community aspect. And then the commenter said thriving or surviving. And that's where I appreciate like the individual cultures of different tribes. I appreciate that authentic. However, moving forward, I don't like the idea of incest. I don't like the idea of tribal wars. And so when it comes to like nomadic people and now there's an UNDRIP agenda, the United Nations Declaration of Indigenous People. And it's like, what is an Indigenous person? Like, I'm a native of Earth. If anyone with a fucking feather in their hat wants to think that they're more native than me, I'll put a little showdown fucking like literally. We'll see who's the best fist fighter then. That'll determine who's the best earthling or whatever, or who's more connected to the ground. They'll be knocked out cold on the ground if they ever mouth off saying that they're fucking more native than me, or like in what is indigenous. Anyway, I don't need to get in a big tiff with the Native Americans here, because like in a past life, if you did a regression on me, I invented the teepee in a past life. I invented Scotch whiskey and everything. Like, I'm the best. Anyway, I'm recovering. I do have a lot of grandiose narcissistic traits, because that's actually like a defense mechanism for when you're facing bullies. Eventually, you have to either change. Nobody's going to just change a bully, so you actually have to physically beat them up. And so, like, luckily, I became really tough fist fighter, but without that grandiose or what people call ego. Oh, you need to get rid of your ego. If I would have not had an ego growing up, I would have kept on getting fucking beat on, like so bad. But because I developed a strong ego and even did do a bit of working out and developed some little fucking my own form of jujitsu, and I'm just like, wax on, wham, like Jew knuckle sandwich. Then I survived. So what is your opinion? I mentioned that in our pre-chat. I was just like, I've got to be a better interview guest. And instead of like Instead of like unloading a dump truck on people and they're buried in like a million things I said, I've just got to ask like a question. you what do you think about that? Do you have a little bit of ego, or does it protect? Like, what do you think about the difference between ego and grandiosity? If you don't have confidence and you don't think you're good, like, what is your special sauce? You have to have maybe a bit, or your, what do you call it?
Just secret sauce. That's what your purpose is. You desire, your purpose is you're good at and you desire to do. But going back to the ego, I think they are tinkering with our brains, and I think that they are creating people who are overly ego, and these are the people that are narcissistic and and then there's the passive people who are apathetic, and we need to balance our brains out, and we need to learn how to be. Ego is not a bad thing because ego is part of us, first of all, and it's there for protection. But they know how the ego operates, and so they've conquered the ego, and they're using it against us, or we're using it against each other. They're tinkering with our minds so that we are causing harm to each other. We just need to go back to the simple phrase of do no harm and understand how your words can be harmful, and lies are a crime. And a lot of people are narcissistic and lie. And we need to understand how important truth is, and honor truth at every opportunity. And truth is anything that happens in the moment, anything that happens in the past, and anything that happened in the future. It's black and white. If I put down a 9 and you see it as a 6, it's never going to be a 6. Doesn't matter if you tell everybody in the world that it's a 6, it's a 9. Because I put it down as a 9. My free will was, this is a 9. And this is where we have misconception and perceptions and beliefs. We're not understanding what the true definition of truth is. An opinion is a belief, and a belief is just a perception of truth. But truth is black and white. It is either or. You can't have a piece of it. And this is where the trivium process comes in. You need to have the discernment. You need to know where the information came in. You need to know about all of the information. So like, for instance, a blind man goes into the court and swears on the Bible that he's going to tell the truth. He is going to tell the truth. If he saw a yellow car and he's colorblind, he's going to see it as, let's say, red. He's going to say the truth that he saw a red car, and that is his truth. But that's not the truth, because the car was yellow and he's colorblind. So the jury's going to need to know all of this, but we don't understand what the trivium method is, and we think, oh, that's his truth because that comes from him. No, he's got a defunct brain because his eyes don't see properly, and we need to know that when we're discerning this information.
Well, and this is one of the trouble I have with the bar members being the judges and lawyers, and they operate in a legalese language, and it's different from English, but there's similar, but there's so many different meanings for every, like, or like and so like they could go and testify in court and even pass a lie detector test, for instance, if they said, I didn't kill the man, and in their mind they're thinking, oh, my eyeball or my third eye didn't kill the man. Meanwhile, they had a knife and stabbed him. So there needs to be open honesty and integrity. And like you said, as soon as people are lying, that's a deadly sin. And then, very sneaky. What?
Going back to the Ten Commandments, I don't follow the Ten Commandments because I think there's only 2 that I follow. So that's more mind control. Even the Ten Commandments is mind control. Anything that says that we are a Gentile, anything that says that there's tax, there's honor your mother and father. Well, if your mother and father have committed a crime towards you, you don't honor them. If they're abusing you, you don't honor them. So we need to learn what natural law is and really embody the truth of, the self-defense principle is really important. If somebody's hurting you, you can hurt them back.
I hate to interrupt, but my friend just mentioned as long as there's pedophiles in the streets, yeah, it's not. So if it says, "Oh, thou shalt not kill," but there's somebody that's raping a kid, well, fucking that guy, and even Jesus said it better off at the bottom of the ocean with a lodestone around his neck. So you know what? I kind of think that there's so many jobs that are shitty jobs. I think that castrating them, just if they're a rapist or whatever, castrate them, or if it's a female rapist, I guess what is slavery for her? I don't know if it's chopping off her, at least just slavery, right? Like I mean, because
we have no right to punish anyone else. They will get their punishment. Yes, you take the person away from the abuse. You take the victim away from the abuser. You put the abuser in a place with other abusers and let them nuke it out. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but no other person has a right to say what another person can and can't do. Jail system is a one big hoax. There's so many innocent people in jail, but nobody has the right. I don't have the right to say that your punishment is going to be X, Y, and Z. What gives me the right to tell you? That's where karma comes in.
If for instance your children were abused or whatever, like my one friend mentioned buzzard bait. So like now, okay, like buzzard lives matter. So throw them out in the desert. Like those buzzards are hungry; they need to eat. And if there's somebody that's abusing children, throw them out in the desert. And my one friend was like, "Yeah, like we could make a documentary and have drones flying around." Like I don't want to like see what's going to happen to them, but I definitely don't want to see our taxpayer dollars funding prisons, and then these perverts who are often, even it seems like literally getting off easy with the frickin' bar members and judges who are all profiting off of this sickness. And it seems like that whoever's in charge of Hollywood, they're producing pornos and sick shit. Like I stopped watching porn a dozen years ago, and at that time, it was becoming so fucking heinous, like the titles and labels of these porns. It's like stepdad or stepdaughter. Like, what the fuck? Like, bunch of inbred perverts are like controlling Pornhub and labeling these videos. What a bunch of sickos. Now these are the same people that are producing the Super Bowl and making commercials of anti-Semitism during the Super Bowl. Like, how much are they paying for this shit? Like, I actually fucking on YouTube, I got a commercial coming up. Like, it was the Jewish and Christian Foundation charity, but the ad was saying, donate money to help Jews, elderly Jews. They didn't care about the elderly Christians. It's just like they just throw the Christians on the name of the nonprofit just to get more Christians roped into giving money to old Jews.
Well, we just need to understand we are all one. I don't even like using those labels. We are all one, really. And when you understand what's at stake, I mean, human species is extinct. You know, we are going into a state of extinction, and our power and our force right now is so important right now. Right now, more than ever, we need to get moving. We need to shift this consciousness. We need to make new decisions. We need to walk in a new direction. And I don't like to use that word need, but it's either, we either are being enslaved or we're doing the work ourselves. And right now, most of the people on the planet are being enslaved because they're not self-sufficient. They're not growing their own food. They're not, they don't have their own clothes. You know, we really have devolved ourselves.
Shoot, the audio volume just dropped off quite a bit. I can hear you still, but then I don't know if YouTube or that'll pick it up. Was your microphone? Yeah, it's at like yeah, if you're up or if you're good and I still got 2.5 hours till the interview. I got an interview at 4 with Michael Grady. So if you're up for going for a bit more, that's cool. Yeah, so then I guess what this is obviously a huge problem. What do you think about like hypersexuality of everyone, but especially the children, and this trans agenda? Like what? Like leave kids alone. Let them just. But you go ahead. What do you think about it?
You know, more boys holding hands, girls holding hands. We never saw that. And I don't have, you know, same-sex relationships, but having it as a fun topic in school, I mean, we don't discuss it at all. And we see how indoctrinated kids are just through this topic alone. It's really sad that people are allowing it. The parents are allowing this to happen. The teachers are allowing it. They're making it okay. It's just not right. And again, they have captured every corner of consciousness. And we need to pull our consciousness back. And just by escaping a narcissistic relationship, we've got to escape this situation. These people are narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic, murdering thieves. And they're running the show. And so the more we can evolve ourselves out of this, because the situation is not going to go away. We're not going to vote in anybody that says, oh, we've got to evolve ourselves out of this mess. That's the only way we're going to create a new reality, which is in a higher frequency than where we're at now. And I feel like I've gone back a few steps because I'm paying rent and going out for the groceries, but, I'm not driving and I'm not paying tax. So those things are very important. And we all need to, really take a check on what we're doing to participate each day.
Yeah. I wonder if that's your friend Sharon Brown asked the two commandments that you live by. Can you explain that?
I don't have one not kill, and I think the other one is be a good neighbor. I don't do the adultery because that's not a crime. I look to see where's the crime being committed in this. Want to say do not honor anybody but one God. Well, that's a lie because we are part of God. We are all one with God. If you tell me the commandments, I can explain why I don't follow them, but I don't remember which two they are.
With you were mentioning Hermeticism. Could you the Hermetic principles? What were those?
Yeah. Patterns in your life. Just patterns in your life, opposites, polarity. The opposites are really something that I notice a lot in my life, and they're always in play here because it's the law of the nature. So understanding Hermeticism is what I'm studying now.
And so, like Hermeticism, is that like I guess related to like Mercury or Hermes, those like Egyptian type of? Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I didn't finish it, but I was listening to like Kybalion, that book. Is that I guess quite a lot of the laws are stated in that book?
They're more they're not and when you understand principles, you realize that they have really conquered this reality. They're using fake law, mind control us, to get us to do actions through our free will that are unlawful. We're
committing unlawful acts between each other. And that's important to understand, because like the cop that's giving the other person a ticket, that's a karmic debt that they're paying. That's why it's really important to be conscious with what you're doing. Most people don't even know what that word means.
And so then with sovereignty, like I do, like I don't like the follow the leader idea. And so like that's, I guess, giving up your sovereignty and now having a hierarchy and somebody above you. However, having policies or principles and following, if somebody breaks the rules, there should be a system. And so instead of, let's say, having a police force, we should be cooperating to come up with, I guess, like I don't even believe with the school system idea of schooling children since they're small. Like a lot of parents, especially if we're sharing higher level information, we can be homeschooling our children and having communities of wise people that are all sharing the wisdom. And there doesn't need to be this like daycare essentially where like a lot of our commenters are saying that they're just like, we can't trust these people with the children because they're like teaching them how to masturbate and like just sick stuff. And then now anyway, what's your opinion about when it comes to anarchy? A lot of people almost go like, oh, we need anarchy and I'm a sovereign being. But when it comes to then organizing, like, I guess even going back to that other commenter, survivalism versus thriving. Like, we can't thrive if we're just all just like, I'm an anarchist or I'm sovereign being, but we're not cooperating to share higher technology or even wisdom.
Because there's people that are going to us, you, us, and we need to call them out, really. We need a brand new way of cohabitating with each other. But in fact, we just need to stop needing. We already have everything. We don't need anything, really. Our egos, that distraction or that hit. But we have everything, especially when you have your food, water, and shelter. Everything else and your health. We just need to learn how to sit in silence and be okay with each other.
Have you looked into like this natural law, or like in Canada, it's called like free man on the land movement, where people are like trying to, I guess, come up with their own identification and assert their authority to the police here. And the police are just like making a cash cow of tasering people, putting them in the mental hospital, impounding their vehicles because people try driving without license and registration, which I don't agree with the amount of money we have to pay for all this crap. However, I also don't want a blind guy that's driving down the road and like, a 90-year-old or even kids driving down the road, or drinkers and drivers. There should be policy enforcers and there should be standards of your vehicle safety. However, if it's going to cost us so much that nobody can even drive anymore, what's your opinion about, have you heard of people trying to flex their sovereign muscle and get like roasted by the police?
But there is no dealing with that system. We don't have an option to stand in their system as a free man. We are well down their game. We just need to create a new situation. We need to come together and create a brand new reality. But that's going to take some people that have a house in the matrix and food, and we need to be strategic when we come together. And we're like cockroaches. We don't know what to do, where to go, and so that's why this time right now is really important, to find people who want to make a difference, who want to change, you know, who have the luxury of space. And, you know, there's a lot of homes out there that have extra rooms and space. We don't need more houses. We just need to use what's already been available to us. That's what my mission is now, is trying to find others who have extra space. But it's easy.
And so, like, I really like that about you wanting to get the essentials, because yeah, if people don't have their essential needs met, that fight or flight mode or stress and panic, it's obvious people don't function well, and especially women, I think, are going to struggle more. Like, men are almost used to, like, oh fuck, like I didn't catch an animal, I'm gonna fucking like gonna have to like really keep hunting. Or but when it comes to, if we were able to, like, that's where I like the idea of, let's say, anarchy or whatever on smaller community, family community. If there is, it's never just going to work out where it's like, oh yeah, we're all anarchists, because we're in a low trust society where there's so many shady people, and unfortunately the shady people have already hoarded all of the resources. So if all of a sudden anarchy came through and there is no police and military, like, think about how bad these gangsters and mafias are already, especially in third world countries. They're taking what they want from people that don't have guns. Have you thought about or ever tried to find a community of people, like, that's where I like the idea of democracy or direct democracy. If wise people all moved to the same area and we now had the majority, we could vote to get rid of town council, to get rid of the mayors and politicians that are just sucking up money and not even benefiting the people. And we say, you're fired, and no more crown agents, the real estate agents, the freaking the Mounties, the firefighters and stuff like that. Unless it's a big city, we don't even need firefighters, because everybody could be trained to put out the fire. Everybody could be trained, or not everybody, but especially the men, or even the bigger, stronger women that know some karate or whatever. If there is some people that need to be dealt with, it's like, that's it. I'm calling Sheena. She's going to go fucking give you a nunchuck whoop ass. But what do you think? Have you ever, like, I know that, like, Michael Tellinger was the first guy I found like 10 years ago talking about this, or even the direct democracy idea. Wouldn't that be amazing if, instead of all of us people that know what's going on, I guess, being so divided, like, and trying to make changes in a broader community where most people are brainwashed, like, what town would be the best one? Like, I think everybody should move here. I don't want to go. This is the best place on earth. Is Nelson. We could kick out a lot of losers that are criminals. The Hells Angels, for instance, I don't like gangsters. They've got like their little fancy vests and they're revving their motorbikes. Wham! Just knock them right off their high horses. And the Mounties that protect them would have to go too. The Mounties are the police. The police and gangsters, have you noticed that in your area, that the police and the gangsters work together?
Yeah. I think we're going to all, well, a lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to start it. And we just need to come to pieces and figure it out outside of the system. And I'm only, I'm very young on this journey, but we are going to be faced with this in the future. As their agendas continue to roll out, we're going to be faced with, what I'm faced with now. So the sooner we can come together in some kind of streamlined process of how humanity lives without rules, and yeah, you just have to do no harm. Exactly, do no harm.
Yep, exactly. Well, this is I don't know. I always love picking people's brains. I could go for a while, but if you're anytime you do want to tap out, you can call it. But this, I guess, you're across the pond. Is it like Do you find in Britain, like, I guess you've traveled around, what part of the world did you find maybe more awakened people that might be able to cooperate on change? Like, was there?
But still, I think it's like one man for themselves, one man thinking for themselves, really. People are still one foot in, one foot out of the matrix. You need to really be in nature on your own, really. A few people. That's, I think, how we're meant to be. We're not meant to be traveling. We're not meant to be traveling on the roads with their petrodoller and, all of the roads have been like, if we had anti-gravity vehicles, we wouldn't need roads. We need to be seeking these higher levels of technology. And I don't know if that's finding the people that have these technologies or creating new technologies, but they're here. We just need to find them and use them and stuff.
Yeah, and I think I could better use my efforts. I love doing live streams, chatting, and learning from people, and even. But yeah, like there's a lot of different technology, like like Zeppelins, the air blimps that they used to fly, like, and then they say, oh, the Zeppelins all got burnt up or whatever. Those Zeppelins, especially with like electrolysis to separate the oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen is a gas that floats that's also flammable. So the idea of the Zeppelins, hot air balloons, or the electrolysis, like there's a firefighting blimp idea that I've got where we could be freaking with the huge Zeppelin idea. You could float massive amounts of water, like a Olympic swimming pool of water that could be floated up and actually be stationed, tied off to the mountains, so that when it's forest firefighting season, that those Zeppelins are up there just tied off and waiting. And as soon as there's lightning storms and boom, you just move your Zeppelin over there, drop the swimming pool of water, and it can be powered with, there's a way that you can actually be fermenting organic matter. And so you have like the acid and then the salt water or whatever alkaline solution. You can actually draw polarity off that and get you can get electricity to frickin' run your motors. And now once your Zeppelin's in place, if the Olympic swimming pool doesn't put out the fire, you can also drop your organic matter, the sludge in the salt water. Your battery portion can also be dumped to put out the fire. I've talked to some engineers and architects, and people often just like to go back to work for fucking Westinghouse or fucking like all of these. Like, it's kind of ridiculous how many of my engineer buddies are just a bunch of money hungry. Do you have any engineer and architect friends that are wise to this stuff?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, I really don't think when it comes to like solar panels and like these electric vehicles with their lithium batteries, it looks like they're really it's part of this green energy scam where they can just once again, everything made from China and not benefiting anybody, even the Chinese people. It doesn't benefit. It's just the aristocrats, and that's what I found is from India out to China. There's been a long-standing hierarchy with the Brahmins on the Silk Road that have their little Sikh mercenaries. So it's like the Brahmins, the Sikhs, and then the Hindus and the Harijin at the bottom. So it's a very ingrained caste system. And obviously, if vegetarianism and yoga was going to save the day, they wouldn't be shitting in the streets and like totally enslaved over there. And then when it goes further yonder to Asia, the Asians I've found are very subservient, and I'm not going to say greedy and money hungry, but they're like, you'll never see a homeless Asian person. It's just, or have you? They work hard because they have a lot, and I love that. I admire that about them. They have a lot of drive and dedication to be successful. But if you're successful in a sick society, or especially if you're maybe not outspoken in trying to make changes, and you're rather looking out for your own self and your own, I don't know. I guess that's why maybe they're flooding Canada. And is it like that in Britain or England? They're flooding with a bunch of Chinese and East Indians.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't do much kind of do much in my room, wherever I'm at. But yeah, I've heard a lot of a lot of refugees have come in. Big problem in America, and yeah, we just need to remember that there's. I just keep honing in on we have the power to evolve ourselves out of the situation, and that's what our goals are: is to evolve and really learn how powerful we are, so we don't have any of that negativity in our reality. I think we all have the power to do that.
And so Sharon's saying Freemasons are everywhere across Earth. Have you ever met a Freemason or noticed that there's a Freemason lodge in every town, probably a Catholic church in every town? But it's very common that people blame the Jews for all world's problems, whereas I just hate religion altogether. So I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't even believe Shem existed. That's all fake. So I'm anti-Semitic because I'm anti-Tooth Fairy too. I'm anti-Santa Claus too. But when it comes to secret societies, I'm anti-secret society, especially if they're holding secrets and hoarding resources and positions of power. What's your opinion about Freemasonry?
Well, this is a topic that we need to and understand how people is. Freemasonry is not about self-mastery. That's good. And the reason why it's had to be secret is for reasons we don't we don't know the whole story of this, but it is a prevalent force on the planet. Absolutely, it's the biggest force on the planet. I think bigger than religion, because it's a unified in every country, and they have different branches. So, but it's not a bad thing. Freemasonry is not a bad thing. What's bad once you get up to the top levels is that's where like everything else has been impacted. Every country has been hijacked, the religion has been hijacked, and Freemason and the Jesuits have been hijacked. We're not being told the truth of these organizations. And I remember thinking Freemasonry was really, really bad, and then you find out that they're not that bad. It's just depends on the person and who the person is. And I mean, we still have an enemy here. The Khazarian Mafia are who our enemies. Nobody ever talks about the Khazarian Mafia. They're always pointing finger. That, in my mind, is gaslighting the truth of who's really doing this, which are the Zionist Jews.
Well, I found that a lot of the truther movement is talking about the Khazarian Mafia, and not a lot of them will actually mention the amount of power that the East Indian Brahmins have, or the Maoist Marxist Chinese, or the Basque nobility in Central and South America, and their connections with huge fucking honker noses. Like, I've been down to Central and South America, and like Cuba especially, it's like, let's kick out those fucking Caesar, Kaiser, fucking the Russians need to be punted. Why are the Russians in Cuba everywhere? And one of them knocked my teeth out. Fuck. Like, I never lose fights, but they sucker punch me. So these internationalist gangsters, I actually have a much different opinion about Freemasonry. I think that they are, and they even have their cult that you have to believe in God. And so God with a big G, a little g, is it Abrahamic? Like, how many of them support the tiny hat tricks, or what the Jews would call Shabbat Goyim? Sometimes I do feel like that whether people want to blame because I'm actually, I was friends with him. He turned out to be very rude to a waitress the one time, and I was just like, fuck that guy. But he's a Sephardic Jew, and so there's the Cohens, the Kohan, like Leonard Cohen. These are Kohani Jews, they call them. And so those are the powerhouses in the banking system. And then there's the Levites. And this Sephardic Jewish friend of mine was a Levite. And so those are the priest class that are powerful in the lawyers and the judges and the bar member. So these Kohani and the Levites are actually the most powerful Jews. If you talk to Jews about it, they have more money, wealth, power, and influence than any of these Ashkenazis. The Ashkenazis are more merchant class and, like the French legionnaires, like the military order. They are the military order and would go around like the Gestapo type of people. So I think that within the truther networks, the whole idea of blaming Khazarians is a total red herring. And then even the ancient history that they tell us about the 7th or 8th century Khazarian conversion, because the Empire of Khazar, that's present day Ukraine, right? Ukraine and Kazakhstan. And the Sephardic Jews, and so Sephardim come from the Iberian Peninsula, they say. And so Iberia, that's like France, Spain, and Portugal. However, I've traced out that there's a new Iberia outside of New Orleans. And so if you look at the New Orleans football team, they have the New Orleans Saints with the fascist fleur-de-lis symbol. And the fleur-de-lis are Frenchies, or the Frenchies, and so free maison, it's all French. And so I actually tend to think that French and English are ancient languages, and that Judaism, Spanish, Latin, Portuguese, Creole, like the Creole Cajun cooking down in New Orleans. I believe that Spanish was likely cooked up around the New Orleans region when they captured, how there's the tobacco plantations, sugar plantations where they enslaved black folks. The black folks that look like LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and whatnot, those are the original Native Americans that have been there the whole time. They didn't come from West Africa. The West African slaves were sure imported to Belize and Haiti, because they're totally black as you could ever see. They're black like West Africans. But anyways, I think that the whole Moorish history is totally fucking fake. The Moorish people didn't build all this ancient cathedrals and architecture. It's not black people that built all the fucking pyramids. Go look at the black people's architecture and how many black engineers and architects there are compared to fucking Frenchies, Germans, Dutch people. You, Scottish engineers, every fucking time will build a better bridge and a better architecture than a black person. I'm not arrogant about it. I'm just telling the black folks, you didn't build the pyramids and all of the ancient cathedrals, and this Moorish history is totally fucking fake, cooked up down in that New Orleans area. So my opinion is that New Iberia outside New Orleans is actually old Iberia. The Frenchies, the Dutch Germans, the fucking slave owners from America, so essentially when I looked into my Mayflower John Smith ancestor and like Pocahontas tales and even like Buffalo Bill's Cherokee Scout, I got a Cherokee nose. Like the Cherokee have huge fucking Jewish honkers. And so that's Métis. So what I'm getting at is that America is ancient. So when it comes to, I guess, the Iberian or Sephardic Jews, are you familiar with the Pirates of the Caribbean movie or the stories? Those are the Sephardic Jews. And so the legend has it that King Louis, in Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella kicked out the Jews in 1942, and magically Columbus showed up to America. He didn't, that's not the truth, but anyways, all around that time that Columbus was apparently, or the Jews were kicked out, and then what was the other one? The Jacques de Molay was kicked out because he was gay and stuff like this. All that is fake history. I doubt any of that happened, and it's all just a bunch of Kabbalistic, the monks, the Sufis, they all just concocted these bullshit stories, and in reality, it looks like that the vast nobility and the Frenchies, they cooked the books, created fake history. So like even a lot of people say the Jesuits are founded by crypto Jews, but Ignatius Loyola was a vast nobility. So it's very difficult for me to explain all these hypotheses because I don't have any, I can't go back into history and prove any of this. However, when I looked into my family ancestor histories, when I talked to a lot of my Jewish friends, like I learned a lot from talking to them. I'm not anti-Semitic. I find that these Jews that have a lot of money and power, they always want me to work for them, and I'll be like, oh, okay, we'll go talk to them and hang out for a bit. And they've told me that a lot of my fucking alternative history, they give me a pat on the back, and they're like, man, you got to write a book. And like, they always want to come and pick my brain about what I'm figuring out. And so I think just on the fact that some of these Jews and Freemasons are so interested in what I have come up with over the years, I might be right about quite a lot of these different hypotheses. Have you heard of like ancient America being way older than what they said?
I think that that's God's work. I think they're doing good things, and you will find that there's horrible things written about them. But the story doesn't seem right because you got the Illuminati, which is satanic. Well, where's God? And that's what the Jesuits are. And the Jesuit is really protecting your connection with God. Really, at the end of the day, they are up against the Sabbatarian Frankists, which is who the enemy is. And I didn't know that the Jesuits were set up by a crypto Jew. I don't think that's true.
Ignatius Loyola. It was actually, I read a lot about it because Jean Bergevin was actually a bishop of Rimouski at the same time as Ignatius Loyola. So I kind of suspect that, but yeah, Ignatius Loyola, and then like any of these like Mendozas or freaking like all of these drug dealing cartels, like Pablo Escobar, probably another fake character. But when you do look at like primarily the whole baseball league, most of all the professional baseball players are Basque nobility. You look at the last names. DeSantos. Anytime, like, Ron DeSantis, fucking guy has a bigger Jew nose than I do. Like, it takes one to know. Like, that guy is, he is one of them, a Basque nobility. So it's very easy for a Basque nobility who looks like a Jew with a suntan. They can also come up to Canada and then be like, oh, I'm a Métis. And then they'll fucking like bang on a drum and fucking like lead some trucker convoy out to Ottawa. And it's all like, they're a bunch of scammers. So, but I guess the commenter was just mentioning that the Moors don't claim to have built the pyramids. And I didn't mean if it came off like that. No, I don't think so. But the Moorish architecture that they claim is all across Spain and France, that doesn't look like was built by them. But anyways, what was your last question about? Oh yeah, you didn't think that it was a Basque nobility that was the Jesuits. Well, and so the Jesuits, it's like a military order of the church. Like that's so it's very similar, like the French legionnaires, the Basque nobility, and then like these conquistadors that allegedly conquered Central and South America. What did they go and conquer all of these people and then put up cathedrals at the same time? So if you go down to like Cuba, just like massive fucking churches. You look around Colombia and Ecuador and fucking Peru, like how the fuck did all these Catholic church cathedrals get put up in such a quick amount of time? It's impossible. Like they're not able to conquer a bunch of little Incans and Mayan folks and build these massive cathedrals at the same time. And I mean, even I guess the best evidence of this ancient America, obviously being ancient and not built by horse and buggy folks, is when you look into the west coast of America and you look at Salt Lake City, Utah, that they say was founded in 1840s, and by the 1860s they had a Mormon, a Catholic, and a Masonic cathedral that are all full city blocks, like the size of Buckingham Palace, for fuck's sakes. And same thing in San Francisco. And it's just impossible to build that amount of infrastructure in the timeline that they said, especially when you look at like like the the horse and buggy folks showing up, like you just, and then the locks and canal systems, like you can't without machinery. The horse and buggy and the wheelbarrow and shovel guy, you can't just throw them into the river. Like, yeah, just make sure that canal is going to work. You got any questions about that ramble? I should have been better at interviewing you, though.
I didn't even know they had that term back then.
Yeah, and then your friend Sharon's asking, she says, how could the Jesuits be God's armies when they are a military for the Vatican and epitome of evil? Well, a lot of people suspect that the Vatican, the Christian do-gooders love to hold on to the idea that the Catholics used to be good before the Jesuits. It what's your, does it seem like that Christianity was hijacked, or could Christianity have been a religion created by the aristocrats to easier control passive slaves? If you are going to wait there and sing kumbaya waiting for Jesus, or it's like the same difference as yoga, like, oh yeah, like I'm just going to just be super enlightened, and like, that's what, like, you're a slave, like, rise up.
I find it hard for the story that I know off the mainstream to fit his character. And the only thing I can think of is that we got it wrong. Mainstream has it wrong. And that this has been a war that's been going on for centuries. All of our wars are based on this topic. All of the movies that we see are based on this topic. And the paralysis, what are they called? They start with a P. Pariasis. I forget what their word is, but yeah, this is a very old story. Been going on for
Is it pariahs?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's where they claim to be do-gooders, but they're secretly like narcissistic leeches that just parasite on their followers.
Growing our own food, getting handle of just stopping doing what we're doing, really participating in the matrix, and being slaves to a system that's crumbling.
I know, getting out in nature, or like going and planting some gardens and going fishing and hunting and out in the great outdoors, it is so healing, and especially kicking off your shoes and socks and grounding and connecting. But it sure sucks when then you look up and you're like, ooh, another chemtrail jet, like, and there's spray, like literally, and then the forest fires, like every summer here, and we got like next to no snowpack. Like usually there's snow, like usually up those mountains, like this is all just covered in snow. Like there's like nothing for snow this year, and that can but you know what though? There's some years where we have like fucking 40 feet of snow up high, and it doesn't matter. They'll roast us with what they call a heat dome, and it'll be like 37-degree weather in early May, and it just like roasts all like all of my little gardening efforts. I'm just like planting seeds and transplanting all this stuff, and it's like I got a good start on the gardening year, and it's like 37-degree heat in May, and it just burns the plants. Like, doesn't matter if you even keep everything well watered. Have you noticed that the chemtrails or these heat domes, and then they'll flood us with an atmospheric river, or they're just controlling the weather to make it more difficult not only to grow gardens, but to live, like without getting burnt by forest fires, getting your house flooded out by a huge monsoon flood.
Yeah, I noticed the chemtrails everywhere. Yeah, there was all in Australia, all in America, all in England. There's not one place I've been to that doesn't have a chemtrail in the sky.
Yeah, I've heard Mexico is a little better. They say Mexico is going to try and ban chemtrails, but I don't know. It doesn't. My my buddy down there, like, it's been good for a while. Oh, there's a chemtrail. So they're definitely not totally banned chemtrails down there. I do sometimes wonder about that strategy. Is like with the how bad they're squeezing us with the real estate prices, and like rich people, like if we let's say, without even leaving Canada, we just leave the cities. The rich people are now going to have to maintain their own homes, and all of their town or city councils and mayors and stuff. If poor people that can't afford to live in the cities, if we all leave and go out to the forest, let's say, and all start cooperating to put in our own water boxes, like that's why the Kootenays is so amazing. There's so many tributaries with creeks and streams and rivers. Like, we could be generating our own hydroelectricity without relying on these massive dams that are blocking the salmon. We just go higher up the hillside and create our own communities that once you put in the water box and the water box is feeding the community, there's like, if you check out Mr. Teslonian's channel, he's got these water tromps that can actually generate electricity, plus pump the water higher up the hillside on like a 10-degree angle. So you can have one stream and water going on a nice angle that way with micro hydro generation and compressed air and all of this magical power each way. We wouldn't need rich people if we all fucked off to the forest and rewilded ourselves, but we would. I guess this is where I'm pretty peaceful, man, as far as like wanting to, like, if there's a problem, okay, I'll deal with the bullies with the knuckles. However, because they've got militaries and these Mounties with a whole bunch of weapons, maybe we do need to arm ourselves, even if it is just bow and arrows and fucking slingshots. And like, we made potato guns when I was a kid with like we started with WD-40, you put it all together with the PVC plumbing and a barbecue igniter and some WD-40. But man, when you get the propane going, and man, with the propane, and we put a little bit heavier of ammunition rather than just apples and potatoes. When those Mounties show up and tell us to get off the land, it's like, no, Mounties, you are going to get out of here. We'll have our fucking potato launchers all loaded up. And I mean, it's about time. I think I've talked to enough of the Mounties and the Nelson City Police. They're quite sick of what's gone on here, especially since they were forced to get the jabberoo or lose their job. Although a lot of them could be part of the Mason Club, and who knows if they just get the placebo and are just laughing at everybody else that is forced to get the one. What's your opinion about like this nanotechnology? Like, I know that the chemtrails are no good if they're spraying big particles, nanoparticles, and if they're especially electroconductive and they can move around the storms, that's no good. The 5G antennas, not good if it's roasting us and it's like a microwave, unhealthy to our health. But have you heard of like this craze about like nano robots that are like eating the glucose in our body and create like, do you think it might be science fiction, fear porn to keep us like scared?